Hi, friends. Welcome to John's Briefs with the Baron of Barristers, Tim Forshey from Forshey Law.
Just when I think you've exhausted all of them, the Baron of Barristers. Oh my God.
Who, obviously, Forshey Law, your NFA trust should go through this guy. Also, if you want an Arizona CCW, he's got a really incredible kind of hybrid class that you can do most of online, which is really great.
AZCCWonline.com.
Yeah, I love him for that. Go check that out. Talking today about a incident that we saw on the channel, which was, I think, a pretty good defensive use of force, except for there was a second person involved, and I'm like, do we get to assume with that second person?
Firearms Legal Protection is who I trust to help me after a use of force incident. If you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, I will also be on your team as a consulting expert, and you can attend our monthly active self-protection training seminars for free. Check out all they offer to their members at the link below.
So I think at the end of the day, yay, good guy wins.
Yeah.
And the first guy clearly pulls a gun.
Right.
You know, when I watched this one though, and okay, so we had the second guy as a getaway driver, and I was like, okay, I think he was right at the end of the day. But how far, Tim, as the attorney, do I get to group everybody together?
Well, a lot of this gets to do with the whole fleeing felon too, don't forget. I mean, at the time that the guy on the motorcycle was shot, I think he'd already crashed the bike and was off the bike when the guy engaged him. I mean, I don't see how he's posing a threat any longer. I mean, he's running away. I looked like maybe shot in the back. And that, of course, that doesn't in and of itself mean anything bad. It's just that was there any longer a threat present? And I'm unable to answer that. I can't tell. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, he was behind something, so we couldn't see.
Yeah, we couldn't see if he had drawn a gun out of a backpack. We couldn't see what happened before the shooting started off screen to our right. Maybe the guy was on the motorcycle and he had a rifle and he put it back in his backpack as he pulled up to pick up his buddy, and the guy saw that. I can't say what was happening off screen, but if there wasn't anything happening off screen, if this guy was just sort of guessing that the guy who happened to take off at the same time was the getaway driver, then he was awful lucky.
And sometimes you get lucky.
Lucky's good, right? I mean, I will say this: when first time I watched this, I'm like, okay, the guy in the blue shirt, I want him on my team. I get first pick. He's on my team. He's playing first base.
Yeah, he's playing first base.
That dude, I mean, he played it pretty dang good, really. So I gotta hope that he played it just as well with regard to his target selection. I hope he had reason to assume, not to assume, but to know that second guy was an accomplice who was involved in the robbery or the potential kidnapping or murder attempt or whatever it was.
I think that's the interesting point, that it's not to assume, you have to know. I have to have objective, reasonable evidence that there is a deadly threat.
You have to know, It could be wrong later, but it would have to be wrong in order to be legal. It would have to be wrong for the right reasons.
Right.
Looked like a real gun to me.
Right.
Okay, well, I had an airsoft gun and I painted out the orange and made it look like a real gun. Okay, well, that's going to pass muster. If it's a translucent green squirt gun dripping water, that's probably not going to pass muster. So it's got to be
We're talking about the subjective and the objective, right?
Exactly.
We got to have both there. Yes, I saw him pointing a gun at me, and I was sure I was going to die, and then we found the gun.
Right, exactly.
And if the gun even was fake, though, but would a reasonable person see
I believe that it was, yeah.
I think the other interesting part of that is a video doesn't show us every bit of the facts of the instance, because in this case, stuff happened off camera.
Correct, yeah.
And so we couldn't really see that.
Are you aware of what the status was of the people he was bodyguarding? Were they just wealthy? Were they political?
I don't know.
Yeah,
especially
because we're in Medellin, for God's sake. I mean, not to be all
could be a bunch of jerks.
Not to be all stereotypical, but
could be Pablo Escobar.
What's the saying that we saw in what was the movie Family Blunt? The great movie about the border crisis.
Oh boy, you got me.
Sicario.
Sicario. Yeah.
So the line from Sicario is that Medellin is not a place; it's a time.
It's a time.
It's like, well, this is the time from the video I saw.
Yeah. Well, and so I don't know who those folks were.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting, again, from that perspective. I think obviously the first guy, is pointing a gun at people and trying to rob folks. It's an easy day.
And if people dare say, well, he was already retreating, you didn't know if he was going to stop and turn around and spray the crowd with a machine pistol or something. I mean, clearly, I think you're still reasonably in fear for human life at that point. Yeah.
And I also don't know what the laws are in Colombia.
Yeah, assuming they have them.
Yeah, they do in some capacity, So Colombia is, from what I've been told, a nation of power more than a nation of laws. But that's a lot of the world,
Right.
If you have power, heck, even in the United States, you might argue if you have enough money and you have enough connections that the laws don't apply to you as much. I know we'd rather that not be the case, but it kind of is.
It's always that old Stalin quote that we saw here, that power comes from the barrel of a rifle.
Yeah. And so, okay, I'm going to turn on this guy. Do I need to shoot that guy? Mm-hmm. And to me, it looked like, okay, so maybe I'm in the can I phase.
Yeah.
Am I in the must I?
And that, we've talked about this before many times, but when people say can I, stop.
Yeah.
Okay? This is not a hunting license. If you're asking yourself, can I shoot this guy? That means you have the option to not shoot this guy, which means that's probably the right option. So,
yeah. So take that option. Now, again, he was right.
Mm-hmm.
Am I sad for our guy who ended up taking the asphalt temperature challenge? I'm not. I mean, don't go robbing people, and you won't have to, worry about answering to Jesus for that.
Right.
But what I don't want is, I know you've dealt with this, I've dealt with this, seeing good people use justifiable force in questionable cases.
Right.
Because there's stink on them.
Yep.
And then they end up catching the system.
That's right. And you catch the system, the wrong part of the system on the wrong day, and that's all it is. Your ride's over. Yeah.
You catch the wrong part of the system on the wrong day. It's an interesting part of this that people say, it's one of the quotes and quips that we hear in the industry. I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
And while I understand the point of that at the end that you say, well, if I'm alive, at least I have hope.
And I like the way you always end that proverb when you say, I just as soon do neither.
I'd as soon do neither, because when the system points at you, is pointed at you, man, it is a bad day.
Exactly right. It's like a Nazi searchlight just hit you in the middle of a POW camp. Maybe it's going to move on, but if it doesn't, you're going to regret it.
You're going to regret it.
We always talk about prosecutorial discretion. We wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't a relatively rare commodity sometimes.
Yeah.
You get the right prosecutor who makes the right decision for the right reason, and we're all going to say, hey, way to go. That was great. But you get the wrong prosecutor who makes the wrong decision for the wrong reason. Politics, race, all these things that are coming into our society even more and more every day. There you go.
I wish I could say so. Tim is obviously a million times more experienced than I am in this.
How about that?
I've testified in court as an expert witness twice now. I've been disclosed multiple times other than that, but testified in court twice. Just so happens that of those, I'm kind of 50-50. One prosecutor who was a good dude who I disagreed with his assessment of things. The other one of whom was probably the only non-decent human in the courtroom.
Including the defendant.
Including the defendant.
Yeah, it's sad.
And he, quick story on that. The judge had sequestered all witnesses, included expert witnesses in that for some reason, which I don't think she should have, but whatever. So I'm standing out in the hallway waiting for my turn to testify. Cops going by, they recognize me, say hi, oh, hey, nice to see you, blah, blah, all this stuff. Other people coming back and forth. Everybody friendly in the hallway, except the prosecutor. That one prosecutor knew who I was and gave me the stink eye in the hallway. I'm like, dude, I'm not against you.
Right.
I guess it's not
We're
my
all
job.
here doing our job. Why do you have to make it so personal? It happens all the time.
You're going to go home to your family. I'm going to go home to mine. Like, it's okay, man. And
he doesn't have a family. He's going to go crawl a hole.
Go crawl back in his hole.
Cut a rat or something. But, if you guys ever want to graphically see that, go back and watch video from the Kyle Rittenhouse case and look at that prosecutor. Prosecutorial discretion is a great thing when it's used.
Yeah.
So
first guy, no problem. In this case, very clear. Second guy, I think you get covered here by this idea of if they're operating in concert, then there's kind of the doctrine of the mob, that they can get somewhat a fleeing felon. Remember, fleeing felon is, dude, when you're not a cop.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like a citizen's arrest. Or the way it's properly pronounced, citizen's arrest.
Citizen's arrest,
in theory it's legal, but wow, are you on thin ice? So.
Yeah. So hey, good defensive use of force by this guy. I think he should get a medal, but at the same time, be careful, because when it's in the can world, you got trouble.
I just want to know if he's working for like a regular normal wage that would be affordable under U.S. dollars terms. I just wonder if maybe he want to come up here and move into my guest room.
Yeah, heck yeah, right.
Cool. Yeah.
Tim, thanks for the insight, man.
Always, buddy. Thank you.